Hello guys, this is Miko, and as promised I will show you how to make an application where you create an app using Node.js and React to create an app that will allow you to upload some Laravel application to your VPS. For example, like a DigitalOcean or I recommend Contabo, that's what I'm using, or any other Vulture or whatever it's called. And yeah, so let's start with just a showcase. So basically, this is what you start off with. You need to authenticate with GitHub. When you click on that, you can see that the page reloads and now we are authenticated. And I didn't get the confirmation box because I was already accepted the request to connect. So we can get some GitHub repos. We click on the button here and we have all of the repos in a nice box. We can search for the repos and we can, for example, see forum, and we have this forum app. And if we click on it, install, we get a box where we can just click install or enter some environment variables in a format that you probably should know if you're watching this video. So we click install and we see the box that is installation progress dialog, and here we have some, I call it intermediate step, and these are outputs from the server formatted by me, displaying only the information that is necessary, because as you know, if you install, for example, Laravel here, normally it would be a list of packages downloading and installing and stuff. So basically, yeah, so I also made it so that the working text only displays once per one time. It cannot say working. So application set successfully. That's a message from Laravel. That's maybe I should probably also remove that. And we have creating database, launching app, migrating database, and we have finished successfully. So now we can either show the app if we are interested in it or exit. I will try to click on the show app thing, and we can see that the forum is online and the database is working because we have this 82 threads, and I can prove it to you by clicking on account, register, let's say Sabrina, and we say Sabrina at test.com, and we say test for password, and click register, and don't save, and we are logged in as Sabrina. We can create threads, there is a button to create thread here, and we have also a button to reply. So if we reply, we have this box. This has nothing to do with the upload app itself. This is the form app, that is a test app that I have used to deploy on this application. So yeah, so this app works. And now to the code. I will not code the application from the start. I will show you how to, and you can look at the source code. You can use it if you want. No problem with that, absolutely. I will show you first the client. So the client, I'm using Vite. If you don't know what Vite is, it's basically a Golang written application that really makes the compilation and building of the JavaScript files really fast. And we have these files here, env example, and we have source, and we have the content of the source thing. So we have context, which I assume you know React, so I won't go into detail. We have a public context that has app settings, user, set user, socket, logout. We don't really need logout. Redirect, start variable is also not needed. Neither is network error or is mobile for this application. And pages, we have the upload page, Let me just scroll up to the top. And we import React and all of these things, public context, and I'm using style components. And import custom dialog, static dialog, use dialog from React SD model, which I recommend, which I use, and I also use import access from Axios. So here I define the styles for the container and style components, search container, repo list, progress container, and vars container, and a progress dialog element. And this progress dialog has some props. There's progress count, progress time, intermediate step that I mentioned before, failed if the installation has failed, to close the dialog, user terminate if the user terminates the installation during the installation, then this variable will hold information about that. And we have terminated by user if it's okay. I don't remember what these two the difference is, but and we also have total steps and installation complete if the installation is completed, and we get the subdomain from the server so we know what kind of subdomain this is. And here you can see it will be in this format, 3 words separated by a minus sign. And here we have we use the redirect from use context, then a progress ref, and in use effect we check the progress ref if it's current, and we scroll to the top. I'm not really sure why. Oh yeah, because when the as you saw when the installation was happening, the the scroll bar went down automatically when the height was too big. So that's what this does. And we also have progress dialog element, and we define the styles for that. And here we have we get the total steps from the server. So when you get the progress count, so for example, let's say total steps is I don't know 15, and it says and the current step is like 5, then it will calculate the percentage based on that. So that's pretty cool. And here we display the intermediate step as you saw the one I showed you. And here is the progress itself. This one line is corresponding to what we see here. So we have a P displaying, I don't remember, it was a long time ago, but we have elapsed time, how much time is being used, and we can see it right here. Elapsed time 41 seconds. That's pretty fast for Laravel app. And we have also a tag that contains information about what we can do with the installation. We can cancel it, we can show it when the installation is done, and we can also exit when the installation is done, or failed, or terminated by user, or complete. So basically that's that. And also we have a repo dialog with some environment variables, which I showed you. This format actually has a few a test page where you can specify this and a specific environment variable, and this is really just for testing. And we have this install PHP app function that we use to send that will close the dialog, sending the environment variables and language setting to PHP. I also made a version for Node.js and basically a MERN stack application where but it was more complicated because you needed to provide more inputs, and you could see that in this PHP Laravel PHP is actually just environment variables. So we have envars container, and the padding is 1 rem and stuff like that. So this will show the install button, and here we have your apps, which is the main component, and we have all of these steps. I'm not going to go over which one. I mean, they are kind of self-explanatory. So here we have a search repo text, which is basically responsible for searching for the repository here. We can exit. So if I delete this, I will get all of them back. If I write something like couples, it will show couples. And then it will also have use effect, where we have we are using WebSockets for this. So on client side, we have socket on installation began, which we get from the server, and it will give us the total steps, so we can calculate the percentage. And the socket on our installation done, we get we set also some variables. In use effect, we have if not progress dialog open, so that means that if we are not opening, if the dialog is not open, then we set these variables in this manner. And we have use effect if not installation started, and we have socket. We set these variables, and this is the fun part with the installation progress. It's basically it's every time that something happens. Okay, so we are using Docker for this, and every time there's a Docker step, it will send an installation progress event with each step. And this is what happens. We handle all of these cases here. What can happen? Let me just take a look. So if it's failed, then we set this up, and it will show the message cleaning up. And if it's terminated by user, also cleaning up. And if it has the text is basically this working text that you saw in the box. And count, I'm not sure. Count is the current step, I believe, or count of steps. And the time is progress time. Oh yeah, the current time that we are seeing. And the cool thing is, I didn't show you. I can show you actually. Let's just let's make another for map. I'm not sure if it was gonna work. I didn't test it, but we can see that it's working. And if we refresh, it comes back to it. So it kind of remembers where you were, because, well, why not? It makes perfect sense to do so, because it could be because of if the user suddenly clicks the restart button to make another app. So it basically prevents you from creating more apps at the same time. And that's bad. So we have intermediate step. We'll talk about that. Total steps we did, and here we have user terminate the function. Install app is not being used, so we can actually delete it. I will post the code right after this video. So we have GitHub Repos, and so basically this is an HTTP request to GitHub, where we send the access token that we got from this first button that we clicked on. And we also have open repo dialog, which opens this repo dialog that we have defined there. And we have also socket emit install app when we click on the install button, sending the app and the user ID, the GitHub user name, which is basically the username that we got from authenticating with the GitHub service. And here is the HTML for it. You can take a look at it if you want. And HTTP client JS is basically my own interpretation of how an HTTP client should be used. I mean, I'm using 4 functions here: get, post, put, delete, and they are sending different Axios requests. So we have headers. We always send the header. We do not need it, because no, we do not need the HTTP client in this case, because we are not sending any HTTP requests at all. We are using WebSockets. So in app.js we have this, well, it's basically default except that React Router DOM has this, instead of use history, we have use navigate, and we have, and this is the component itself, we have a few states, we have use effect. So basically here, when we get redirected, first we authenticate with GitHub, then the GitHub redirects us back to the server API, and the API server redirects us to the client sending this as a query. So both of these, so we check if both of these are present. We set the local storage here, so we have always access to it. So basically we do not need to have a login and authentication service, but we have this. Also we have user effect and GitHub. So this will basically create the socket for us, and the user will be joined given the GitHub username. Login is not necessary. I also delete that. Redirect, I do not remember. Probably is necessary. Logout is not necessary. And we have this context, everything that you know. Main.js, everything that you know. So that's basically it. If you invite that config, no, that's the same. Okay, so now basically let me go over the server. We do not need the views because we are locally we'll be using two servers, kind of for like client and server for like server. But in production, the server will pull from the client dist folder, the HTML and stuff like that. So basically, all we need to worry about is the env. I'll show the example, and we have basically node port, MongoDB URI, JWT secret. I don't believe I'm not sure if we need that or not. Client where we need, mail we don't need. We do need app steer and Nginx site steer. So, and GitHub client ID, client secret, and client callback URL. We need all of these 5 variables. So basically here we have kernel folder where, well, let's start from the beginning. So we have index, and index creates a kernel, and then the kernel connects to DB and then runs. So the kernel, it looks like this. We import some things and we set the env and stuff like that, and in the constructor we create the server, create the new DB, and the server, there's a run function that we saw, and connect DB. So DB is shorter, so let me just show you that first. It basically connects Mongoose to the well, I do not believe they're doing that actually. I will not delete it because I'm not quite sure, but the server is needed. We're using Passport and Passport GitHub 2, so we can download that package. And we have also a constructor, this app express, this app service, this app service, new app service, and we'll show you this app service soon. So here we set up the passport functionality, and here we have a run function where we configure middleware, set up passport, load routes, and start the app basically just the way you normally would. So we have routes, load routes, configure middleware, and what we also need, we have, let me show you this app service thingy. It's the longest file so far, and it's basically responsible for the installation of this app itself. So we have join user, where it comes from the app.jsx, where we join the user upon authentication with GitHub, and it will be a GitHub username as this user ID. So we join the room, and then we have user terminate, where the user terminates itself, and then we have install apps, and here we create the subdomain. So that's the 3-word subdomain that we made, and we also have process env. Node env is not dev. Then we meaning that it's in production, which we did do just before this video. And here we have this installed Laravel app Docker. We have subdomain and some things. I don't really remember what it is, but it works. So we also have in a case where we test it, we send a count of 50. So basically there would be 200 will be I think it will be 40. I'm not sure. A few working, it will show working a few times. So yeah, and we have installation progress, and we have a finish function where we reload the service. This is running on the Ubuntu server, and we also have install GitHub repo, and this will basically load the tarball from the repository as a tarball. And format it into this format as a GZ file, and we don't really need this. And then we have install Laravel app Docker. So basically it takes subdomain as a parameter and environment variables, token username, repo, socket server, and user ID. So first we install GitHub repo app from this function. So we basically pull it, and here we determine the database name. It cannot contain minuses. It has to contain underscores, and combined name, which will be basically this. This is basically what is this here. So we also get a random port. This get port function comes from this get port package that you can download for free, and this is also a port that will be used on this as a reverse proxy on the server. So we have env args, and this is what will be handled if you enter environment variables in the box, in the installation box. And this is the fun part. This is the Docker file. You need to know some of the Docker if you want to truly follow this. But so I have made a Miko 1991 Miko PHP version 1 image, which you can pull from Docker and save somewhere, and then basically we run a copy, and then we do some things here. We extract. Okay. So the reason why we download it as a tarball is because of security, so that even though let's say you want to provide the service for users to upload their apps to your server. So you basically are the user can be a notorious gangster who wants to run your store and stuff. So basically you would have some files that are not secure and therefore could really mess up your server. So basically we download it as a tarball, and here we extract it. We add the tarball to the container, and then inside a container we extract it. So this file basically checks if composer.json is present, and this line here verifies that the version is below 7.2. So here we have run chmod, where we do the regular permission for storage, for logs and stuff like that. And here we have app key, app env. We create the env file ourselves, where we specify app key, app env, app URL, and connection will be MySQL, and then db host is MySQL. This db host MySQL corresponds to the Docker container, that MySQL container that we have created. So this has to be exact name as the container of MySQL. It has to be. So database name is database name, and password root, and stuff like that. And I will show you. Well, the way you run the container. First, you need. Let's now switch gears to the server side. Let me just open it so you can see. I will log in into my Contabo server, and here we will have Docker PS, which lists our containers. Let me just do it again. So here we have MySQL. You can see on the bottom 5.7, and then I don't know if you can use this dot network. What can you do with this? ls. Okay, so ls. So we have my network. So basically you say Docker create network create, and I said my network, and basically it creates a network that when you create a MySQL image, it will connect, it will be run on that network. So here we have, so this is the Docker file, and here we have a query database command, which will basically run this command on this MySQL container, and it will create a database with this database thing. And when you create the the MySQL container, be sure to specify that the MySQL allow empty password is set to true, so that we do not need to set a password here. Username still root. So basically we run the container on the port that we have gotten from the get port function, exposed, and this Docker file exposes port 80. So as we see here, we have my network here and the command name of the image, and here we have Docker exec. We migrate the database, so that's why we did see these. Let me take a look. These 82 threads. So what have we learned so far? We have learned how to make a client. We have learned how to make a MySQL container in Docker and Docker file for Laravel app. And now to the Nginx part, we have and now we have initialize installation progress where we make a dir and here we have the server configuration for Nginx. And we create the file for it and move it to the directory. This Nginx site dir is the one contained in the examples. This one here, Nginx site there, and where was I? I think I was in the app service. So basically, we have Docker file where we create the Docker file, because this is an array. This is an array of commands, and it's because so we know how many steps there is. So we create this Docker file, and we make it. We move it to the directory of the app directory, and then we have socket server to user.io emit this installation progress, and basically we build the Docker file with this command over here. Remember to specify shell bin bash, because otherwise not going to work. So basically, build command push and stuff like that, and we have and we send a. I'm not sure what this does. It's okay, and it sends. Okay, so this sends the time every second. So we see the time increasing every second with this installation progress command. Installation progress can take many parameters like text, intermediate step, count, and also time. So in this case, we set only time so that this time can be updated. And here we have a Sandberg expression with PHP status, which we saw in this file here. PHP status installed in Laravel app, populating environment variables, which will be shown as the intermediate step. And here we have a condition where we have where it's a step, because Docker works with steps. So basically, when the next step is running, the Docker program will show step as the text, and if it does, then we increase the count, and then basically that will increase the percentage. And here this is where we remove the unnecessary stuff from the output to this black box. So we have when it's running, removing, and this arrow, and successfully sending, and then this line basically does so that working will only be shown once. It will not show working, and then on the next line working only shows once, but it can be like working and then, like for example, running and then working again, but not working. So we have socket server again, and then build command find, and then we have a case where an error occurred. So we basically here we basically clean up, we remove the gz file, and we say terminated by user, and stuff like that. Or if the installation fails for some other reason, like the version is below 7.2, then we get this installation failed message. And after that, we create the database and launch the app, and then migrate the database, and then we finish successfully, and this is finished. Whew. So basically that was it. And in off that routes we have basically we import some stuff, and we create, this is basic password stuff. So we have password authenticate, GitHub repo user, password authenticate, GitHub. This is for authentication, and this is for after authentication. So basically we get the client URL, that's why we need it, and we redirect to GitHub access token, get access token, and then username, and then we redirect to it and let the client handle the rest. And index is basically importing that auth file that we have here, and router use will basically load the client directory basically as an asset, but it will be a client front end. Well, basically, so that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will provide the code for you from my GitHub repository on the description on YouTube video, and I hope that you will find it successful. You can do whatever you want with it, modify it, sell it, I don't really care. Use it for your users to upload their Laravel apps and stuff like that. Just be sure to like and subscribe, and maybe comment some nice stuff. I don't really know what to say anymore in this video, but have a really nice day, guys and girls, and see you in the next video.